This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 144. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
And Tam.
Hello.
For most of this week, I have been walking gelatin. We just launched a big site at work, and I don't have a whole hell of a lot to add, but thankfully, my castmates totally came up with some topics, so we're going to have things to talk about. So, Final Fantasy Alexander. We have now all been through it. All 12 parts?
Yep.
No, 12 parts. I have to say, I like Part 3 significantly better than I liked Part 2.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, the end was pretty good. I felt like the beginning and middle meandered, which, I mean, it's a story about time travel, so it kind of becomes incomprehensible in the middle.
I liked the Brute Justice fight a lot.
Me too.
Like, the last fight is some serious nonsense, whereas Brute Justice was just silly.
Like, when you say serious nonsense, do you mean, like, unfun nonsense?
It did not always feel entirely fair nonsense.
In the final fight?
Yeah, in the 12th section, or whatever you want to call it. Like, there are just some times where, like, you would have the time stop, and a whole bunch of stuff was going on, and couldn't always move where you needed to move in time.
I don't know. The first few times that definitely tripped me up, but eventually I found it was not that bad to get frozen in a good spot.
Maybe I just need to run it a few more times.
It does help that as the tank, you are very, very, very close when Sacrament goes off most of the time. So you see exactly how much space it takes to dodge it.
Yeah, that seems like it would be helpful.
So, I do want to say that it does sort of have, like, the coolest storytelling in the middle of a fight in a while, in the sense that there is a point in time at which all of the DPS gets transported to a different area, and what they are witnessing is a cutscene that you witness right before the fight starts. And, like, in the cutscene, your character gets frozen in time and by a time lock, and then at the very last second the time lock collapses and you manage to dodge out of the way of this massive attack. And in the fight, you actually see your character from the cutscene get locked in time, and you have to, like, defeat the enemies to, like, disable the time lock so that your character in the past can go ahead and dodge out of the way of the attack.
It's really neat. I like it.
I mean, maybe I would like the fight better if I wasn't healing and stuck upstairs doing, like, boring, basically timekeeping, waiting for everyone to come back.
Yeah, that's a real big week of that.
Like,
Yeah, I also never saw that because
you get
well,
to do cool
I was
stuff.
tank.
It's the same thing as, like, what the fourth Alex fight, where, like, a group of people goes out of the room, but, like, if you're not in that group, you don't get to see any of that.
Yeah, although that's not interesting, or, like, this is the fight telling part of the story to you, and the fact that only the DPS gets to experience it is they should have made the entire group have to go deal with that section.
Yeah.
Or maybe just, like, had split bosses, and you had to burn down boss number 2 in time, so it needed a healer and a tank and basically all of your DPS. That way, at least half the time, one of the tanks and one of the healers should be able to see it. I mean, functionally, you could have fought, like, a time-shifted version of the boss you were on or something.
It's a really weird fight in general.
It's a very long fight. I mean,
You fight an Avatar of Alexander and also the giant thing, because time travel brings it in to fight you.
I mean, you also fight actually Alexander, who gets summoned in to help the Avatar of Alexander. It's a weird fight.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Ladies and gentlemen, time travel.
Time travel.
You know, like, time travel is generally complete nonsense, and, like, they made no bones about the fact that...
it was here.
Right, no, like, they fully accepted the fact that it was going to be madness, and like, no, time travel is insane. Here you go. Here's all the insanity in one spot. This is all the stuff that can go wrong.
But for as much nonsense as it is, like, it is pretty fun to fight. And it does feel sufficiently epic to be the last boss of that series of raids.
It is also the only fight in current content where the tank limit break is a thing that actually exists.
That was so cool. Like, that's not anything we ever get to do unless shit is really going wrong.
Usually, if shit is going that wrong, you just let people die and heal their limit break instead.
Exactly, yeah.
I think it's cool that they create a space for the tank limit break.
I mean, because, like, really, the tank limit breaks both look, well, I don't know what the Dark Knight one looks like, but, like, the Warrior and the Paladin ones look pretty awesome.
Dark Knights tear, like, a hole in space and use it to protect their party or something. I don't know. It's weird. It looks awesome.
Timey-wimey stuff.
I don't even know. It just looks amazing.
Like the Astrologian Limit Break 3.
Also looks amazing.
Like, there's a lot of limit breaks that I wish I could see more often. Like, I feel like the Summoner one looks amazing, too.
I got to see that one today because I was in Ifrit, which is basically one of the few fights that straight out gives you 3 limit break bars. And the Dragoon in our group had a really hard time actually using the limit break on the boss, so the Summoner just decided to take it into their own hands.
I tell you, like, that one time when we used the Black Mage limit break was perfect to kill the ads and DPS the thing. What was that on the final boss, or was that on another fight? I don't remember.
That was on 9.
Yeah, that was like ideal situation for the Black Mage limit break.
One I wish I could see more often and is the Bard limit break, which is like an amazing thing where they call down arrows from the heavens, but there's no situation ever where the Bard limit break is a thing.
What I find interesting is, like, I had been whinging about how much I didn't like Alex as compared to Coil, and I feel like maybe Alex redeemed itself with the last 4 fights. I mean,
I'm surprised you
really
like them that much.
I like 3 of those. I just don't like 9.
I like the last 2. I don't think the first or second one are any better than any of the other fights in the other sections. So,
like, a lot of the fights that people seem to like out of the middle set of Alex are really annoying for the tanks.
Honestly,
like I fail miserably at being on the right platform when the thing happens.
I only remember a few, as I'm trying to think about it, I only remember a few of the Alex fights. I swear this isn't the Final Fantasy V water or fire guy boss.
That's in 3.
I remember that guy. I remember Brute Justice. I remember Cruise Chaser, and I remember
That's 11.
And, like, if I really think about it, I can remember some of the other ones.
I can remember a few more.
Yeah.
There's some, however, that I forget every time. Like, I never remember what's in 6 until you go in there. But 6 is your trial run for 8.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 6 is just the string of mini bosses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that one was really annoying to me. Like, it felt like it took too long. And I guess that was the problem. Is like a lot of these fights just felt like they took too long. But then again, I mean, so was Bahamut, so was Turn 9. But admittedly, like, Turn 9, you were either alive or you were dead in a lot of those phases. Like, and it didn't feel like the stakes for Alex were quite that high. Like, it felt like you could res up and keep going.
Well, a lot of that is that Coil was the hardest raid tier available. You're not doing the hardest raid tier available.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they did eventually put in Savage, but that was an afterthought, and Coil was intended to be like the hardest of the hard.
It definitely wasn't an afterthought this time around.
No.
It was what they intended to replace Coil with, basically, was Savage for the Raider crowd.
And I do kind of wonder how much of it is I didn't spend enough time on this content, like, being forced to learn it, to, like, build the relationship I have with, I would say I have a pretty strong relationship with, like, Turn 5 and Turn 9, especially, because I spent, like, I want to say 6 weeks on Turn 5 and then, like, 4 months on Turn 9.
It was a while.
It's I mean, you have to for me to form those these types of attachments with a fight. I think I actually do have to spend time with it. I have to spend time getting beat up by it.
Well, and I guess for me too, part of it is I think the story arc of A Realm Reborn was way stronger than the story arc of Heavensward.
I
don't really agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
But I do agree. I do think that the story of Coil was a lot stronger than the story of Alexander.
I do agree with that.
I think that's absolutely.
See, the main story of Heavensward, I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
The patch story that extended that main story hasn't been as awesome as the patch story that extended A Realm Reborn.
Oh, I don't know. I think Warriors of Darkness are pretty sweet. And I thought...
Also, A Realm Reborn story took a long time to get.
I mean, Warriors of Darkness was a cool idea that I didn't feel ever really resolved in a meaningful way. It didn't feel we were leading somewhere, and that's not where I thought we were going, but okay, I guess we're done now.
It felt like a really, really, for me, it felt like a really, really long build-up to a cool but over surprisingly quickly ending.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, now we've fizzled out and we've resolved it. Oh, okay. So why did we go on this jaunt again?
Well, I mean, it was the story of Menphelia finally leaving.
Yeah, but I had already given up on her back in A Realm Reborn. So, I mean, I accepted that she was gone. So the whole likelihood of her coming back was never really a thing for me. It was everyone else
I don't know. She shows up in the anti-tower in 2-2 or 3-2.
Yeah.
3-2. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I had just assumed she was gone. I don't know why, but I just assumed she was gone. And
yeah, I will say, I actually think I did sort of think of the anti-tower as her final farewell, and so I was kind of surprised to see her say her farewell again.
Yeah, it was a little weird to me it was a little weird for me to have that all wrap up with a scene that I felt like I'd already kind of seen, tearful goodbye for Menphelia, except I felt like I'd already had my tearful goodbye with Menphelia. But I feel like I liked the Warriors of Darkness thing, but I feel like it probably could have been one more patch site to resolve, and I think I would have felt better about it. Weirdly.
I mean, I don't know. This entire expansion feels like they had a lot of really cool ideas that didn't quite resolve in a meaningful fashion for me, or at least not meaningful is the wrong word, but a satisfying faction.
I think they had a much clearer idea of what they were doing with the Heavensward story, and seeing where and so everything kind of was building to that, but there's a lot of stuff that's been built up through A Realm Reborn and then Heavensward and then post Heavensward that's leading into this expansion. And so there are a few things that I kind of feel like were almost weird filler.
I don't know. Some of the content felt like the swimsuit episode in an anime. It just was there, and it either didn't mean what I wanted it to mean, or it just didn't go where I thought it was going, and it was kind of disappointing the direction it did go. I was expecting the Warriors of Darkness to be this great new nemesis that we would carry on into the next expansion. I thought that's what it was building towards.
I did expect them to go until the expansion.
Right. I expected it to be the new chief nemesis. And no, it's oh, we're already over. Okay. These guys were kind of cool, but...
Also expected what's-his-face Imperial, the guy, to live a lot longer than he did as well.
Well, and I expected to, go on a mission of, that we too would reclaim the Dark Crystals and, be the Warrior of Grey or something like that, where, we balance both sides. But it just, I don't know, I had things built up in my head of directions that they could go, and they were way cooler than the directions that we actually...
Are you saying you don't want to go fight some more Imperials?
I'm definitely not excited about where this expansion looks like it's going.
Alamiga and Doma?
The Doman continent is the part of this that I find most interesting.
Doman continent looks huge.
Yeah.
It looks like that's the majority of the expansion.
They said it'll be about half and half.
I was about to say, I actually am more excited about I feel like Alamigo has been like well built up, and like dealing with that conflict is interesting to me, especially because I care deeply about
Ida?
what?
Ida?
Ida and
Raubon?
Raubon, yeah.
Yeah. I can see that.
Like, I care deeply about Raubon. I care deeply about the citizens of Little Alamigo. I care deeply about Ida. I mean,
Like, because I'm Ola for life, I'm very invested in Alamigo.
yeah. Well, and that might be it. I am Ulda for life, and so I might also be invested. So that's interesting to me.
I do not care about Ulda.
I mean, I like Ulda a
Till
lot.
seasons all.
When we have our Limsa expansion and have ships and pirates and stuff, then I'll be totally on board.
We do have a bunch of underwater stuff.
I'm curious about this. I'm skeptical, but curious.
I don't know, like the only thing that I'm not sure about is this is setting up to be like the Insurgency expansion. Like where everything is going to be basically like a rebel insurgency as we fight back for, Alamigo and Doma. And that in itself is kind of cool, but
I'll be totally honest. I expected to hate when it was like, oh, it's about elves and dragons and snow. I'm like, wow.
I like two of those things.
I like dragon.
I like two of those things, but probably different too.
Like the only thing prior to Heavensward, the only thing in those three in this game that I liked was dragons, and only because dragons are pretty awesome. But like as characters, I wasn't really sold on them, and I certainly didn't like them going into Heaven because the only one you were dealing with was Midgardstormer, and who like seemed to. It doesn't really change. Still, you meet other dragons, and there are other dragons that I like.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know. My favorite character from this story arc, this entire expansion is Shiva.
Oh yeah,
Ysayle.
Yeah. I also didn't really like Ysayle at first. Like until
I kind of liked her the whole time, but I
did too.
Liked her in Heavensward.
I thought she was great in Heavensward.
I actually thought she was pretty sweet in like when the original Shiva fight. I was like, sure.
I thought Iceheart was an amazing villain that we had, and like I was super happy to have her.
Yeah, I guess I was in the boat of, well, I guess we're done with when we finish that fight.
I'm a big fan of Hilda.
I mean, I've always loved Shiva in like every Final Fantasy game, so probably help.
Yeah, and the Shiva fight is super awesome in this one. It's one of my favorites.
It's just, I don't know, like Heavensward has been this very uneven feeling content for me because the leveling experience, getting to 60 and seeing the first few fights felt so amazing, and then I just checked out, and like I don't know why I checked out, but it did not seem as interesting as the content we had just lived through to get from A Realm Reborn into Heavensward, and then there's this amazing, ride through Heavensward, and it just didn't maintain the same momentum.
2.1 was kind of disappointing, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So like 2.55 and 3.0 were an amazing trip.
Yeah.
I think you felt let down because those might go down as some of the best content patches story-wise that we're gonna see in MMOs.
Probably. But like we had a whole sequence of them back to back. Like the tail end of A Realm Reborn was so amazing, and it carried through into Heavensward, and like it felt very even. It's like we didn't lose the momentum through an entire expansion.
Yeah.
And then we get the patch content, and they took a long break. And I think that kind of was noticeable, that they took time off from the game. Not that they didn't deserve to have time off, given how much they grind on content. It's just, you felt that, this is not nearly as important as, the 2.0 or the 3.0 story arc was.
I'm really interested to see where we go with there's one more content before the expansion, if memory serves.
Yeah, there's at least a 355.
Well, there should be a small one and a large one.
Yeah, and I remember that the difference between where we were at prior to one big, one small content patch in A Realm Reborn and how hyped I was for the expansion for Heavensward after those two was massive.
The
It's
difference
a lot.
between beating up an Ascian and Steps of Faith.
Yeah, because like that was a lot of stuff that happened in 2 patches that stoked. I mean, because it wasn't just those 2. It wasn't just Steps of Faith and
No, there's a lot of stuff that went with that.
yeah,
Right.
like the whole crazy Raubon story that left us like, oh my god, what? Everything is terrible going in, like everything is a disaster going into this expansion. Like
Well,
we went from being heroes to particularly fugitive expansion. Whoa! So I'm waiting to see what they drop.
I getting back to something you said, Tam, it feels like most of the content needed one more patch cycle to resolve a story. Like, we needed one more with the Warriors of Darkness. We definitely needed one more with the Griffin. Because, like, by the time we fought the Griffin, it only felt epic because once unmasked, it was someone I recognized. Like, the lead up to the Griffin was, oh, so it's just some dude. It wasn't that important feeling.
I was okay with Griffin being like, I would have been disappointed if it hadn't been, but I really like that tied up a loose end that has been nagging at me for a while, and like there was enough for
because we never knew what happened to Lolorito, and we never knew what happened to whatever the guy's name is.
Lolorito's still, being important.
We never knew what happened to the guy who turned the Crystal Braves against him.
Yeah.
And like that was a big question mark loose end that had been a problem, and like seeing like, oh, okay, this is the guy, because the Griffin's been mentioned for a few patches in passing. Like Alamigo's been kind of mentioned in passing quite a bit, and there's like a newfound surge of resistance. But I think we are going to see a brutal Imperial invasion next patch. Like up to and possibly including them completely wrecking a capital city.
I kind of think we may see at least a partial sacking of Gridania.
Yeah.
I mean, because Gridania is the most vulnerable.
Because we haven't seen the retaliation of this patch's events.
Because, like, I know this...
I feel like they have to introduce our main villain after all. It's like a giant stupid statue of him in the collector's edition, so they should probably tell us who he is.
Like, I know Grace and I had this conversation, but I don't remember if anyone else was involved, but basically, like, of the cities, Limsa and Ul'dah are both super defendable. Like, just by nature, just by the way that they're designed. I mean, like, Limsa's problem would be cannon fire, because it doesn't really have walls, but, like, nobody's going to get close to Limsa because of the fleet. Like, they're going to rip them to shreds before they even get close.
Airships.
Ul'dah is, like, a military city. Like, it's really defendable. You know what's not defendable at all? Gridania,
which is literally a hole in the ground.
do you know what takes out trees really well?
I've been playing a little bit of my White Mage recently and watching somebody else play. As far as I can tell, what elementals do is get really, really pissy all the time.
Yeah.
And get abused by the people of Gridania. I have not seen them do anything. There's a whole bunch of powerful people in Gridania who are super scared of what'll happen if the elementals get too mad, and the elementals are constantly getting mad and not doing anything valuable. So maybe that changes. Like, I would accept that something really awesome happens with the elementals, because Lord knows they need to carry their weight at some point, because we keep appeasing them for no apparent reason.
Like, it would be amazing if, like, the forest of the Shroud just rose up and started attacking things.
I wouldn't be that surprised if that's what happens. That is how the Gridania story kind of starts. Like, Ida and Fapolino kind of crash there, and the forest is not happy about that.
I will say, like, the last 2 patches, though, have finally started to bring in elements that made me excited about going into an expansion.
What?
Because, like, just, I mean, I'm not really looking forward to fighting a lot of Imperials, or Garleans, but they do have interesting, like, fights and mechanics, and they have cool war machines and crazy primal engines.
Ready for Omega?
I am absolutely ready for Omega.
That's a loose end that I suspect is also going to come in some major way next patch.
Yes, I agree. And I'm mildly concerned. Maybe a little bit more than mild.
How bad could it be, right?
Pretty bad? Like, really seriously bad?
So thinking about...
bring a chemist, right? Everything will be just fine?
They haven't announced chemist yet.
Thinking
Thinking about the dungeon that leads up to that, though, reminds me how disappointed I was this expansion that each tier of expert roulette has only been 2 dungeons.
Yes.
I really hope is. I know that they're probably not going to want to change it.
It needs to change.
But I'm really hoping, because I feel like one of the biggest reasons we had so much like burnout was there wasn't as much to do. Like, you had to do everything, and it wasn't as varied.
And Dungeon Expert Roulette wasn't fun, because if you didn't like one of the dungeons in a thing, then it was like, well...
And you always get that one.
Well, and that was the thing, is like, even if you didn't always get that one, it felt like you always got that one, because in every tier you had the one you liked and the one you didn't like. And even if you kind of like both of them, there's always one you prefer, and that feels like the one that you're never getting.
Yeah.
I feel like the tier just before this one, I actually enjoyed both of those dungeons pretty much equally, and that's the only time that has ever happened.
Yeah, I'm with you there, because like both of those are really fun, and they're both fast to run. The two ones currently do not feel fast to run.
Doma was not that long.
I feel like
some really annoying trash.
Yes, tangential to this topic, I do find it awesome that like Fanfest is starting to bring people out of the woodwork. Like, I'm one of those people that has come out of the woodwork too, but like even this weekend, there's been a handful more people showing up and doing things, and
yeah, it's cool to see people around.
So what have we discovered from Fanfest?
Samurai.
We're going to Doma. They're introducing Samurai. It's going to be more underwater stuff.
That map looks big.
That map is
actually
big.
pretty big.
So is my DPS queue going to be hell?
They said they want to do something about that, but probably, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to do something about that.
So you're going to introduce 2 new DPS classes?
Yep.
I mean, I guess what they said was that they introduced a new healer and a new tank, and it didn't seem to make any dent in the problem.
I'm not buying that.
They also introduced
I mean,
a new...
they're not wrong.
Yeah.
They introduced a new DPS class, but the DPS class is not that popular. So that's... But they introduced a new tank, which is also a heavy armor class that uses a big giant melee weapon.
Yeah.
Introduced a new healer that is also a spellcaster that casts very similar healing spells.
I feel like... Yeah. I feel like... I was having this argument with somebody in a link shell earlier today, but like, I'm worried. I'm a little worried that they are very creative when it comes to DPS classes and not very creative when it comes to tanks and healers.
I mean, I feel like all 3 of the Heavensward classes were not sufficiently different from existing things, I guess.
Well, and I think part of the big thing that they lost is by forcing you to do Oliver Realm Reborn before you can play these new classes. You're not actually introducing new blood into the system. You're just shifting around the balance of the blood you already have. Like, so if you were a tank, it was probably likely that you were going to try the new tank. If you were a healer, it was probably likely that you were going to try the new healer. But I stuck with Warrior, like, because it's what I knew. So I didn't see a reason to go to Dark Knight. Now, Tam has leveled Dark Knight as a tank and just gotten it to 60, but like, you already had a tank before that was Paladin.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and I didn't really enjoy that, and so I moved to Dark Knight because I was hoping for a different experience, and I feel like I didn't really get that different experience.
I played both Paladin and Dark Knight, and they aren't that different.
I started leveling Astrologian pretty much right away in the expansion, and initially it was somewhat underpowered, and it was... I mean, it definitely has some nice differences from the other healers, but wasn't anything other than that the spell effects look way prettier that made me want to switch from my Scholar, which I love.
Man, I have been wanting a Samurai for a very long time. I was hoping it would be the Samurai tank incarnation instead of the Samurai DPS incarnation, but it will probably give me a DPS that I'm happier to play.
But see, this is okay. So yeah, like I am glad that that's going to happen. But if it takes a tank out of rotation, that's obviously not helping.
No. Like I still am going to main warrior. Like I will probably always be a warrior because the warrior class fits me better than probably any other tank class in another game. The only thing it's missing is a charge. Like if they gave me a charge as a warrior, I would be the happiest thing ever.
I feel like part of what you're hearing is if you have a high level tank or main a tank, you do not realize how awful it is to not have a tank. And like it's awful. I mean, we've had what? How many weeks of raids that we've just sort of canceled because we only have one tank or we have no tanks?
Yeah.
And like that's just because we don't have the spare people playing tanks. And I have been leveling up Dark Knight, but it just hasn't been fun to play because it feels just like the tank that I already had and didn't really enjoy. And
yeah.
Without some, I mean, it's like, and I like it slightly better because I like having I don't like shields. So having one big sword instead of a shield is fine, but I feel like the feel is pretty much the same. And whereas I have a lot more fun playing with the just like button press mechanics of other classes. And a new class is a really great way to introduce people who weren't interested in the previous tanks into new tanks, but I'm just worried that we're going to have a bunch of people who liked playing other things start playing DPS.
Yeah, I am definitely not switching to maining Samurai. Like, it looks cool. And mostly, like, I am happy because it's going to give me a DPS that I'm probably more interested in than the others. Like, I did not enjoy Dragoon this expansion, mostly because I just didn't like the micromanaging aspect of trying to keep up the dragon buff all the time.
You talk a bit more about the mechanics, things they want to change. They say that they want to bring up the skill floor of the classes. That is too hard to play them at a base level in some cases.
I mean, cool, I
Black
guess.
Mage well, that's the thing though. Like Black Mage from 50, Black Mage of 60 is a completely different class.
Yeah, that's totally.
And one of them is a lot harder to play than the other.
That's totally.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. Is like, I mean, Dragoon used to be something that was fun that like I could switch over and play, you know, because Ash was going to tank or somebody else was going to tank, and I would enjoy myself. But like 50 to 60, I just didn't enjoy Dragoon anymore. Like, it wasn't fun, and I don't think Monk is going to be any more enjoyable, and probably not Ninja either. So I'm hoping Samurai will be a DPS that I really can enjoy.
Yeah, and I guess that what I'm not having the hope that there's going to be a new tank that is a kind of tank that I would enjoy.
Well, they missed a golden opportunity with Red Mage.
I feel like both Red Mage and Samurai were great opportunities to make a unique to this game tank class, and I'm a little concerned that they didn't. And I don't know how, unless their plan is to drastically alter the way the existing tanks play, which maybe, but like I think we're gonna have an even more severe tank shortage than we already.
I feel like I'm probably not going to get much time to play a Samurai for a very long time because people will need a tank.
Well, yeah,
and I'm okay with that. Like, I really like playing a tank. I like warrioring. Warrioring is fun.
This is the kind of thing that sort of happened with this expansion, is that I leveled Monk first.
Yeah.
And then, I had to rush to get Paladin up as well because he needed a tank.
It was pretty much impossible for us to do anything. Didn't have a tank. And like, that's not great. I don't like that people are forced into that. But I liked in the...
Like, it's sort of okay because I actually do like playing a tank, but it's, there's some work that could be done there.
Well, it's really rough that you're going to basically have to play two classes and keep them geared up and keep them... Like, I just stopped trying, and all I have geared is my warrior. Mostly because I wasn't enjoying the DPS, but like if it were the other way around, it would have been a massive inconvenience if I was really enjoying Dragoon, but like only half-heartedly trying to keep the tank up for the sake of the raid.
So tanks
and even then,
need an Arcanist.
Agreed.
Of some sort, yeah.
I wish they didn't feel like Scholar Summoner was a mistake.
Yeah, because if they did that for a tank class where you could simultaneously level a tank and a DPS, I think maybe that would help some problems.
I'm
Well,
still mad
honestly-
they don't have Berserker as like a split off of Marauder.
Right. I really want them to flesh out all of the other classes to where there's 2 jobs off each class. Like, I want Berserker as a heavy armor, axe-wielding DPS class. Yeah, like, I mean...
And they're very much like, no, we don't like the effect of Scholar Summoner. We would like things to be separate jobs. And
Part I think they don't like is that people got to max level as one or the other and then had the other one that they didn't really know how to play. But that's, I don't know.
That's what Palace of the Dead is for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Palace of
Palace
the Dead
of
is
the
not
Dead is-
helping that problem.
Yeah, Palace of the Dead is making it worse.
Yeah. I mean, and I get that, but I get that. If either Red Mage or Samurai were tank plus DPS, that would probably be my new main, even if it wasn't Red Mage. But like, I really want to play Red Mage, but I'm really concerned that it's just going to be misery for me while I sit and look at 30+ minute queue times always.
And this is one of
To
the
be
few
completely
games.
clear, how is that going to be any different than you playing Black Mage?
I didn't have a plan to do Black Mage. Black Mage was something I'm playing on a lark. But if Red Mage weren't one of the classes, I would continue with Scholar Summoner. Like
This
as much.
is one of the games though that like the healer queues are actually pretty long. Like other games, I see sort of a balance of a need for healers and tanks, and not just within our free company, which is full of an excess of healers, but I think in general there's way more healers than tanks.
I mean, if you look at Adventurer in Need in the roulette, it is always tank all the time, forever.
It was healer today in Trials for me.
Oh, I'm looking at Trials, and it's... I looked at Trials before, and I looked at Trials now, and they're both Adventurer and tank.
It's usually.
We don't have any new details on what they're going to try and do to reduce button bloat, do they?
No details.
Okay.
They've
They
just said
repeat
it's a
that they
thing.
wanted.
Yeah, I feel like I'm hearing the right things, but the devil is in the details.
Yes. I mean, I feel like on a lot of these things, they could have turned a combo into a single button that just does things when pressed 3 times.
Like the way Guild Wars does it?
Yeah, well, like Guild Wars or Terra, or what was the game we played ever so briefly? Tam, the one where you tame
Blade and Soul.
mounts.
Oh,
Riders of Icarus?
Yeah, Riders of Icarus. Yeah.
also did that.
It did that too, yeah. So, like, there's a whole sequence of games that do this thing where you put an entire combo on a button. Yay!
I feel like
you
that's
just hit that thing.
I feel like that's the way this game works. I mean, in Ash's point the other day about then you wouldn't have branching combos.
That's okay. That could be 3 abilities.
Yeah, it could be 3 separate abilities. I'm fine with that. Like, yes, both of my combos begin off the same attack. And that's fine. Like, you just have 2 different copies. That would still reduce the number of abilities on my bar from 5 to 2.
Yeah.
So I'd have my threat combo, and then I'd have my debuff self-heal combo.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I wonder, like, the thing that I want to know about more than anything else right now is how is this not going to be a nightmare of tank? And probably to some, but
I'm not hearing it. Like, I am not hearing at all how that's going to be a thing ever. I mean, for us, it will be less of a thing because people will come back out of the woodwork that played tank.
sure.
And that will be, but I think in the end, we will still have Ash and I as the people that are tanks.
Yeah, you better hope that you guys don't ever feel like playing anything else.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen, you know.
Right.
We do sometimes. That happens.
Yeah. I mean, and when it does, it's like, oh, well, I don't know how to solve that problem. I mean, I guess there's a bunch of ways they could solve it that don't involve making new classes. So, sure, but I haven't heard any of those. Because if they did something like, hey, we will have a sliding scale XP bonus for leveling any class of a role that is consistently short.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Like the more time roulette spend with adventure, and the faster you'll level up or tank up. To the point where
I don't think that's the only problem with tanks, however.
I don't think that's the only problem.
I think there is a major problem with tanks that is not going to be addressed by any new class, any bribery either.
Tanking is kind of
Tanking is
boring and
stressful.
samey. Oh,
No.
stressful. Okay.
Yeah.
Tanking is,
Like, there's
for
times
some
I just
reason or
can't.
another. People seem to rely on the tank to dictate how the run goes.
Ah.
I mean, there are times that I just can't handle tanking. Like, I can't handle being responsible for someone other than myself. And on those days, like, I just don't tank. And because ultimately, like, yes, healers are just as responsible for everyone as the tank.
No,
but
they're really not.
But healers are less in front of everything. Like, if the tank screws up, it's immediately noticeable. I mean,
The tank has to drive the bus, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's part of why I like. Yes, healers and tanks are both important, but I only do one of these things regularly, and it's because when I heal, I can stand in the back, do my job, and if I do my job well, half the time people don't even notice I'm there.
Yeah. See, it's interesting because I felt like in other MMOs the healer drives things. I've played MMOs where it feels like the healer is the important piece.
I don't think I've ever played an MMO where I felt like the healer. I mean, I've played other MMOs where the healer felt maybe more important, but never where the healer was the one who was driving.
I guess driving is the word. I'm thinking like
healer mana sets the pulse.
I'm thinking
like-
of ones where healing is really stressful. Like there are WoW where I felt like healing is the stressful job.
Oh. Yeah, the thing is with I played healing during like the beginning of Cataclysm or Pandaria. And like it was one of those things where I felt like I had to be perfect 100% of the time. Like
Yes.
anyone else could make a mistake and like no one would notice it. If I made a mistake, we wiped.
Well, that was
Ben and
also
I are
during.
sitting here laughing at you now.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Tanks too. Tanks absolutely could not make a mistake, but
WoW and Cataclysm, I think, was probably the worst for that. Like,
I remember healing in Cataclysm, and it was a stressful, miserable.
I think the thing is.
And I switched to tanking in Cataclysm because it was less stressful.
So
Go ahead.
I'm gonna, like, the most stressful thing about tanking is the fact that as a tank, I have to know the fight before you can know the fight.
Yep.
Like, I have to have the fight nailed before you can even begin to make progress on the fight.
So here is the thing that's stressful about healer, especially in WoW, for me. I have to execute the fight perfectly while also executing my buttons perfectly. Like, I can't screw up a rotation. If I screw up, like, who I am targeting with a heal, like, it's over.
That's the fight over.
Like
That was especially a thing in Kata.
If I'm not putting enough healing output out there, the fight's over. It's not like for a DPS. If I'm not doing damage fast enough, maybe we wipe because of an enrage timer. But
But a good healer could save you even from that
Yeah.
sometimes.
There have absolutely been times I've kept tanking through an enrage for those last couple seconds because the healers were going, crazy on heals.
And when a fight asked me as a healer to do something, it was miserable. Healing raids in early Pandaria as a healer was what broke me of enjoying WoW.
Yep.
That is the last thing I have done in WoW.
Yep. That is the last thing that I had. That is the point at which that is exactly the same for the point at which in WoW I was done. I was like, I don't want to do this ever again.
Yeah, my returning to Guild Wars 2 was, I'm right in front of the Catacombs of Ascalon. I clearly remember quitting WoW after, like, trying to raid on a Disc Priest in the first raid dungeon in Pandaria, and was like, this is, like, even when we win, it means I have been stressed out for 10 minutes.
Well, admittedly, Disc Priest is still kind of a miserable time in WoW, unless you specifically like that thing.
I mean, my experience in Final Fantasy is I run my healer around when I feel like relaxing in an instance. Like if I have an instance that I know I overgear and I know I can like carry if I have to, it's super relaxing to roll in there and be like, all right,
I don't know that I'm ever relaxed as a healer, but
I mean,
See,
I don't know, but I'm much more relaxed healing in this game than I was in WoW, even recently when it has gotten easier.
okay, like, the funny thing is like, from a tank perspective, the main reason why I never leveled my white mage this expansion is there were so many fights that as a tank, I was so desperately mashing my cooldowns that I didn't want to be the healer having to try and heal that.
In this expansion?
In this expansion, yeah. Like, those early dungeons especially, like, there were a lot of fights that...
Even a few dungeons where I felt that way, yeah.
Were like, oh my god, I don't want to heal this. This has got to be miserable if I am sitting at low health and having to hit these cooldowns all the freaking time just to stay alive.
The only one where I know that is pain on the healer is Vault.
That's the one I'm thinking of. I do not want to heal this. Like,
but even those, I don't know, because I love healing. I like those challenging ones up to a point. I don't like it when things are ridiculous and unpredictable, but I like to be challenged.
I like it when healers get asked to do something just heal. Like,
I do not like this.
You don't?
thing.
Okay.
I mean, let me put it slightly differently. I like it when things are going smoothly enough that I have the opportunity to throw out a little bit of DPS or something. But I do not necessarily like it when there's some other funky mechanic that I have to keep track of. And WoW is kind of terrible for that.
Makes me think of the worst example would be like Naxx's Resist, where it's like,
oh wow,
this is a fight designed to allow healers to do something different for once. Oh, this is awful. Like, this is a miserable experience for our healers and for else involved.
Well, and that one made no sense because
let the tanks do that.
That was so, I don't know, like, that was madness because not only did the healer have to now do this thing that they've never done before, but they also had to have max hit gear to make it work.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if the answer is something that I've seen them start to do a little bit in Heaven's Word, and then it felt like they backed off of, but make fights more dependent on the DPS.
So they, I guess, some background on the current, on how rating has been going for this expansion.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of emphasis placed on healer and tank DPS to keep up with the DPS checks.
I've been noted. Yeah, that was the impression that I got. And I don't mean PS as in the DPS needs to do more damage, because that's exactly what happens. Is now the healers and the tanks have to shoulder that burden as well as everything else. Right. I'm talking about, like, there are things that the PS need to do in this fight that cannot be handled by the tanks or the healers because they're busy tanking. Like, more fights with special mechanics for it. And, like, that irritates DPS, but I don't care. Like, if you don't like it, play a tank or a healer. Get out.
I mean, so, because I hesitate on this because we just had something where it's like, oh yeah, the DPS has to do a special job, and it was awesome. Like,
but that's the thing, is that is more the DPS get to be special. Because what you're doing is not a special thing. You're not doing anything special. You're hitting a guy because you're hitting a mob because there's a scene for you to watch. But, like, I'm talking about, like, mechanics like in in Dunscaith, I want to say, where the you've got to hit those things on the ground before they explode and switch them all to your element.
Which the healers always have to do.
Yeah, except make sure that the DPS have to do. And that's really easy to do. Touching that thing gives you a debuff that reduces your healing done by 100%. Healers will never have to do it. Super easy.
That's one way to get around it.
It is an absolute brute forcey solution, and it absolutely works.
The only thing I can think of that reduces your healing out currently is the in turn 5, the neurolinks that drop reduce your healing output dramatically, so that your healers don't just stand in them the whole time and stay safe. So they are aware of the ability to do that.
Yeah, they clearly have it programmed in. But I think there's ways to do that. That add pressure to the DS without automatically making it the healers or the tank's job to pick up the slack. Or you can have fights that are more about specific DPS mechanics than I forget the word I'm looking for, than specific healing mechanics. Like, so it's less about big damaging abilities and more about, some other kind of solution.
I kind of wish that they, I don't know, like, WoW did this a lot by making the DPS get put onto, like, interrupt duty.
Yeah, which is mostly the sole purview of tanks at this point.
When it's relevant, yeah, mostly tanks do that.
In Final Fantasy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's because tanks are the only class that, like, when you're formulating a strategy that is generic for everyone, tanks are the only class that all of them have a reliable stun. I don't think all of the DPS have a reliable interrupt.
Nope. Very few DPS even have
All
it.
of the melee do.
All of the melee do, but we don't... the Party Finder doesn't build a class with at least one melee in mind.
No, it doesn't.
I feel like Qs would be... I don't know, they'd still be miserable. Because then you'd be vying for a single caster slot and a single or melee slot.
Yup.
Yeah. And that would make Qs even worse.
Also, I think you would have to figure out, like, what is the... So, at that point, the melee brings the interrupt option. What do you give to the casters at that point that they bring that's their job to handle?
An AoE limit break.
Yeah, okay, so that would require you to build encounters that ask for AoE limit breaks more. Also, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think their limit break design is actually really good right now because only Was gets to do it most of the time.
I think the limit break design is okay most of the time.
I don't know. As a healer in the most recent 24-person raids, I get to press limit break an awful lot.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's cool. Like, you get to press your very powerful limit, like, when the content is fresh and everyone's dying. But then, like, the content gets farmed and you don't push your limit break in.
No, like, there's a reason why when I came back to the game, I was like, oh yeah, that's a button that I have. I should put that on my bar.
Which, I mean, I am, like, the Dragoon, like, I am a giant dragon that falls from the sky, has, like, I get to press the button a lot, and it's even lost a little of its shine for me, because it's just, like, I'm always the one using this. I don't get to
Final
see...
Heaven still looks amazing, but it's been...
You see it so often.
But
yeah.
A lot of fights have limit break, but
Is-
it's not always used when it maybe could be.
Is it an AoE limit break 3?
Sometimes.
Because remember, like, those... You have to time those moments in the fight so that the party would have a full limit break bar.
In some cases, yes. Like, in Alex 9, we had a very good application of limit break, the caster limit break 3. In Alex 1 has a very good application of, ideally, the range limit break 3, but the fight doesn't go long enough to get to limit 3 anymore.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know, like, I know we did that thing where we did Ifrit a bunch of times so we could see what all of the limit breaks look like, but I've kind of forgotten, because I see so few of the ones that aren't me and Monk.
Yeah, like, we don't have a regular ninja.
Isn't ninja like shuriken or something like that?
It's a million swords. They just throw a million swords at the target.
It's really cool looking.
Really cool looking. People seem to like to macro it to quotes from Fate's Day Night.
Yeah.
I still say the summoner one's the one I just never see.
Yeah, seeing it in Ifrit today was the first time I'd seen it, probably since we were in Ifrit testing what they all looked like.
Right.
It's a pity, because there's a bunch of really cool ones.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at, is it's a pity that they don't design their fights to encourage more people to use a variety of limit breaks.
I wonder if we're going to see, like, it heartens me that they are at least cognizant of the problem. I'm just curious, like, is that we understand that there's a problem, or is that we have plans for a solution?
Regarding DPS?
Yeah, just...
Regarding limit breaks?
Both.
They're in a really tricky situation there, though, because, like, they have one of two options. Either they make DPS roles largely interchangeable, or it gets to the problem where you have to balance a fight for having a specific DPS with you.
Or you give everybody 2 limit breaks.
So that everybody has a single target and an AoE as DPS.
Yeah, so that in a party you'll have multiple different options, and they'll all be, interesting. Because it's like the only reason that you don't see the caster limit breaks more is because they're AoE. If casters just had a single target option, or if healers had a blasty option, like if you could fire off a mega holy as a white mage, or like, I'm trying to think of a scholar equivalent, but generally
A bunch of fairies come down and like beat the crap out of something.
Yeah, like a swarm.
I'm guessing it would involve hexagons in some way.
Swarm of hexagonal fairies. I mean, that would be great. If tanks had a great big like group DPS buff limit break.
Man, I have a totally horribly devious idea. What if you earned limit breaks from the various beast tribes?
Are you trying to...
Sure, I'd have them all, but
yeah,
why would you do that?
Are you trying to make me do my beast tribe dailies in
Yes, I am.
The Anima class is already trying to make you do your beast tribe dailies.
But like, okay, so the Sylph one could be like the healer like limit break, to where a DPS could know how to do the healer limit break. The Ravana bugs. They could teach you how to do a tank limit break.
I do think it's cool that the limit break is based on your job, but maybe like, just like, oh hey, let's do some terrible ideas and briefly summon Ravana to do something.
That would be amazing.
I thought only summoners were people who made terrible decisions, but I guess we can all do it.
There are plenty of bad decisions to go around amongst the other classes. Black Mage is not exactly the best of ideas, generally speaking.
Oh, Black Mage is terrible. It's not. Let's not even beat around the bush on that one. That's a series of terrible plans. So all of that having been said, I have to say the trailer teaser for Samurai.
Interesting.
It looked really, and the idea of it not being a big armored class is pretty interesting.
Gotta have somebody to use monk armor.
I have to share my armor with somebody else now?
Yep.
I still don't know what.
They ever say what red mages actually use?
Nope.
Oh.
And we don't know if Samurai uses monk gear or ninja gear.
We do. They use strength. They have said that.
Okay.
So they use Dragoon gear?
No, they use monk gear.
Oh, monk gear?
Yeah. Dragoon and monk only share jewelry.
Right. Do we know what red mage is using?
Nope.
No
clue.
I think it would be hilarious if they were agility.
Are we sure that they are both DPS classes? Has that been confirmed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably won't be mind. Probably won't be vitality. And I'm guessing it probably won't be strength.
Dude.
Whether it'll be dex or int is anybody's guess.
Nope, it's piety. They're all about the piety, man.
They already made that a secondary stat. I don't know. I'm really curious about how red mages actually play.
Me too. You are not the only one. I've been burned before.
I'm guessing it will be a little more than casting haste on the rest of the party.
And then
leaving
going...
the party.
Yes, and then leaving the party because I've played that game.
Yup. But if they do that, at least give you Dire Charm.
There is a long interview that Yoshida gave later in the day that I have not gone over in its entirety yet.
I will have to check this out.
He did make a rather amusing comment about the costume.
It does look comfy. I believe him when he says it's super.
I'm hoping that somehow we end up with Yojimbo in the game related to this.
Do we need another giant sword wielding primal?
Yes, we do. Always. Look,
like, 4 of those now?
Look, he's amazing looking, okay?
I mean, we're going to have to fight... What's it called?
Mega?
No.
Susanoo?
Maybe?
They didn't just announce that as a new primal.
What is it? Oh, Susano? Susano?
Susanoo, if I'm getting that right. No, I was thinking of the Railgar? The Alamegan guy.
Roger, yeah.
Roger.
Roger.
Maybe he'll be my friend, because that's my patron deity.
When
as
have
a warrior.
we ever had a primal we haven't had to beat the crap out?
I like the qualification there.
Yeah. I mean,
important qualification.
Because Ramu was more or less friendly.
He didn't want to immediately kill us. We did still have to beat the crap out of it.
We had to prove our worth in a beard off.
But you were all fell.
Yeah, I mean, I have a mustache, so it's not as
proportional.
Yeah, like I'd come closer to a beard off with him in real life.
There's a great big. Isn't there like a great big beard cosmetic item? Like a big fake beard you can wear?
Yeah, it's from the Christmas event.
This game is so weird sometimes. Most of the time.
You mean amazing?
I think it's great that their like seasonal events don't ever repeat. Like that's a lot of extra work, considering I've never played a game where the seasonal events didn't repeat.
Oh yeah, they're never the same.
A little weird.
It's pretty weird.
Normally, though, what that would mean is that if you miss it, it's gone forever. But they're okay selling those things to you later. So I guess I don't mind it quite as much.
Another news, we were talking about my Dark Knight earlier. I am 100% rocking those plaid pants you said.
Yeah, it was kind of insane. Like, I've never quite seen a pair of pants in the game like that, and I got them off of Darkest Dungeon.
They're amazing. They're my new tanking pants. They're great.
Are you wearing
Really?
them with the dinosaur boots?
Yes. I'm also eye level 226 on my Dark Knight already, because as soon as you have a character above 230, you could blast forward with almost anybody else. Thanks, eye level 245 gear. Thanks, Dunscape.
Well, Dunscape is not particularly good for that. What with the limit per week?
Man.
Unless
guess
you
I
accidentally roll on the wrong piece of gear. Golf.
Hey,
Look.
I guess that's the thing I need to do tomorrow, is Dunscape.
I've totally greeted on tank chest piece and healer chest piece in one both. And like, sure, that's not more caster DPS gear, but my caster gear is enough to get wherever I want to go, and my gear for other things is not quite there, so work on that. Plus, I don't want to run Dunscape more times in a week than it takes for me to get one piece of something.
Fair.
Now, if I can only replace this last eye level 120 piece, I could actually have decent gear.
Okay, I think we've wound down a little bit on this discussion. Grace, you said you were playing a Cthulhu Otome.
yeah.
What the hell's with that?
I don't
Is this
know.
my
Damn.
Is this my fault?
Yeah, so it's called Darkness Smith. It's a mobile game, and I haven't played a whole lot of it yet, but I have started playing it, and I mean, it's exactly as advertised. I don't even really know how much more to say about it because I haven't gotten super far into it. And I'm pretty new to this genre of game outside of like the couple of, a couple of things I played on Steam and Hatful Boyfriend. And so I'm new to the concept of like having to do the stupid mobile things or pay money to unlock each chapter of the game, which is slightly annoying, but they have to make money on these things. But really, it's you're playing this game and you're gonna date one of these elder gods. And I guess the most disappointing thing is that, in Hatful Boyfriend, man, when you're dating those birds, they're birds. But in this game, you're dating these elder gods and they look like pretty men. And where is the fun in that?
Well, admittedly, like there was the option in Hatful Boyfriend to show them as the humans, wasn't there?
Yes.
Only for their introduction scenes.
Only for their introduction.
Oh, okay.
And, here it's like, what is the point of dating an elder god if they're not covered in tentacles and, extra dimensions that will drive me mad? Like, what good are they as pretty boys?
Like, I kind of would hope that's part of the story, is like, do those elements not come up in the story and just like every time you see them they're still pretty anime boys?
So far. I mean, like I said, I'm not super far into it, so maybe that gets fixed. I don't know. But, like, from what I've seen so far, no. Anyway, it's a very silly thing, and it's exactly the sort of silly thing that's up my alley, so I'm sure that I will be continuing to play this over the next couple weeks. I guess it forces me to pace myself, because you have to earn story tickets to unlock more chapters. So either time locks or watching stupid ads or paying money, which I probably won't do unless I really enjoy the game. But it's a fun thing, and I think maybe some of our listeners might get a kick out of it.
I'm so glad that my what is this thing? I can't even with this share turned into somebody finding something they enjoyed.
I mean, it's right up my alley.
Elder Gods and such.
Yes, but like I said, disappointing lack of tentacle.
Yeah. So, speaking of madness and old gods, this is a horrible segue. Huh?
Wondering where this is going.
Yeah. So, like, Friday afternoon, I was pulled into my boss's office, and he presented me with what he thought is something I would enjoy. Apparently, we're building out a lounge area, and they're wanting to get a gaming console for, like, couch co-op game. And so, first off, I don't think anyone that is involved with this idea understands that the modern method of multiplayer does not involve with, like, playing next to each other people.
It can.
Like, it can, but, like, that is a significantly smaller number of games than are play over internet these days. So basically they wanted me to choose between a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One. And as a result, this morning, like, I compiled this truly insane Word document where I went into way too much detail about each of the systems, and, like, I priced it out, and, like, I even priced out the Wii U. And my God, the Wii U is way more expensive if you don't have anything from Nintendo.
What do you mean?
Like, to buy 4 controllers, and if you want backwards compatibility with the Wii, you also have to buy 4 Wiimotes and nunchucks.
Why would you want that?
No, there's still
seriously.
there's still Wii games that people would want to play, but like for whatever reason, the people I work with still are enamored by Wii bowling.
Oh,
because a few years ago, we had, like, a fundraising tournament thing that was Wii Bowling, and everybody really liked it.
In that case, I can't help you.
Yeah, so speccing it out, like, it was insane, and, like,
yes,
in order,
that case, you'd have to buy 8 controllers instead of 4 controllers.
Exactly, right. So basically, you're buying double the controllers, and in order to keep them from just being utter madness in a small area, you would need charging docks for both sets.
Maybe, not really.
Yeah, but, like, so the reality, like, Wii U got crossed off the list pretty quickly. So, like,
it's unfortunate because I feel like a lot of the nice, local co-op, local multiplayer games are Nintendo games.
Yeah, I feel like even if you don't spring for all of the things you're talking about, you're still going to get more options from there. Like, you're just going to have more. You're going to have more games that people want to return to and play and can all play at once. Because I can't think of that many really compelling PlayStation or Xbox games that have strong local co-op.
Towerfall comes to mind, kind of.
Which?
Towerfall.
Yeah, Towerfall Ascension is really good. Like, Push Me Pull You is an interesting game, and it's only on PS4.
Sure, but are any of them Mario Kart or Smash Brothers?
Mario Kart is probably the strongest one.
Mario Kart, Smash Brothers.
Mario Kart's a really good argument itself.
Yeah, like, Mario Kart is a pretty good argument by itself. Smash Brothers, for those people who don't like Mario Kart and for who like Smash Brothers, because there's definitely those people. And I'm pretty sure you can get Street Fighter on.
I'm not sure about that one, actually.
No.
Okay, so
Pokken Tournament is the only real fighting game like that I can think of.
And then you've got stuff like the Paint one.
That does not have good local multiplayer.
Oh, it doesn't.
No, it is mostly only online.
It does have split screen, but
it has split screen. It has split screen, but it actually doesn't have split screen. It has one person on the handheld device, one person on the television.
Weird. Okay,
yeah.
So that's
also what is going on for multiplayer.
Yeah.
You've also got what's the new Super Mario Brothers? Like,
yeah,
there's
that's
just,
a good way.
There are so many good options on the Wii U that, like, for exactly the kind of thing you're describing, that, like, I don't even know why the other consoles are in contention.
Because whoever suggested them did not realize that the Wii U exists.
I mean,
now, also, like, there was the concept of people being able to bring in games, and, like, amongst the gamers that I know at work, none of them have Wii U's.
Whatever.
They either have PS4s or they have Xboxes.
To be fair, they don't need to bring it in if you have Mario Kart there and Smash Brothers there.
Like,
but
very reasonable to just get 2 games.
I would also suggest maybe thinking about Rock Band, because that is another.
Rock Band is really loud.
Do that.
Yes, you can.
Rock Band 4 definitely didn't come out for the Wii U.
Huh.
I mean, I feel like the Ultimate game period, is Rocket League.
Not also doesn't have co-op.
No, it's 4-player split screen.
Split screen.
Oh, that's split screen? Okay.
Yep, 4-player split screen.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not up to speed on the co-op scene, but like I didn't realize Rocket League had ousted Mario Kart and the legendary classic.
It depends on who it's being bought for.
Yeah.
If it's being bought for people who think Nintendo is kiddie nonsense, then they're not going to even try Mario Kart.
That's a lot of. I mean, these are not Nintendo's core demographic, but
they don't know that, and they're not going to try it and give it a chance.
Right.
Yeah, but
I feel like if it's play this at work or don't play games at work, they're going to try it.
That might be true.
I also wonder, like, is the only target audience the people who play games, or is it trying to be more crossover? Because
to some extent, crossover, and I feel like that's the strong point of the Wii U is it's pretty open to new people. But the problem is no matter how you chop it, the Wii U is a much more expensive proposal.
How? I guess
I
don't get that.
I still don't understand how.
Okay, so I spec'd out basically system, 4 controllers,
4 programs,
and 2
notes.
You do not.
Right. No, but like I spec'd each of these out with a system, 4 controllers, either one that came in and one that came out, and some kind of a charging dock to keep controllers in line. The PlayStation 4 came in at $442.90. Xbox One came in at $472.87, and the Wii U came in at $625.66.
Oh, I guess because you have to buy one more controller than yours.
Right, and the base controllers are more expensive than the base PS4 and Xbox controllers.
Are they really?
They are.
Yes, significantly so. Everything is more expensive. Like, so a Mario Kart bundle is like $300 still for the Wii U.
Yeah, I know that. That's been a problem for them.
Whereas you can get a PlayStation 4 bundle for like just under $250.
Yeah, I didn't realize the Wii U hadn't been dropping their prices.
Nope.
No, instead what they did instead is end production.
Yes, which has actually increased the price because there's no more units circulating into the system. And that's another part of it, like, is functionally the Wii U is going to be a dead console.
Now,
That's
an argument that I think.
Well before a PS4 or an Xbox One.
Yeah.
I think that combined with the cost maybe enough
it is
to
rough,
drive
though,
it.
because I do feel like you are missing out on a lot of the easily accessible games.
Right. And so like, it's a weird situation. Like, the best local multiplayer is probably on the Wii U, but it's super samey as well. Like, so you have Mario Kart, you have Smash Brothers, and then you have a bunch of co-op platforms.
I mean, I don't know what you're getting elsewhere. Like,
well, okay, so I did a rundown of like everything that supported good local co-op. So like on the PlayStation 4, Borderlands, like the Borderlands Handsome Jack collection supports 4-player split screen. Diablo 3 supports 4 players on the console. Forced is 4-player puzzle.
Forced came out for
Yep,
PS4.
it's on both. It's on both of them, and it's 4-player on screen.
Which one? First one?
The first one, the non-arena game, whatever.
Probably a better choice.
Yeah, Jamestown is 4-player on screen. Lara Croft in the Temple of Osiris is a 4-player game.
Are these like? I mean, you're listing a bunch of these games, but I'm thinking of like an office environment.
Yeah.
You have a very different office environment than any of the ones I've been in.
Little Big Planet 3 is a 4-player puzzle platformer.
Little Big Planet is...
I mean, there's Minecraft, which is on all of the platforms.
But I guess my question is, how many of those can you sit down and play for 10 minutes and then go back to doing work?
And that's the part that I don't know, is I don't know when they're wanting to do this.
Yeah. Are they going to want to sit down and do like a regular... Because like Forced, you're never going to sit down and... Like, it takes you an hour to learn.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know... And 4 people are going to sit in front of that for the entire time it's being played. Versus having something where it's like, there's lots of quick rounds and people can switch all the time.
That's kind of where games like Rocket League kind of...
Right.
Yeah.
And Rocket League on the consoles also has like a tournament mode where you can set up an office tournament and set up teams with their own colors and things like that. Yeah. Another great game like that is Trackmania Turbo.
Really?
Like, Yeah, it's 4-player split screen.
But would people actually go for Trackmania?
Trackmania Turbo is actually really cool. And there's always the Jackbox games. But, like, Ash and I were having this conversation that basically the difference between the two consoles is one has Halo and one doesn't. Problem there is Halo on Xbox One doesn't really support local multiplayer. Like,
wait, what?
Halo 5 doesn't have local multiplayer at all.
I don't... What?
Halo Master Chief Collection has 2-player multiplayer on, or like half and half split screen. So yeah, it's like, that isn't as strong of a contender as like I originally thought it would be. Because like I totally expected him to have 4-player Halo split screen. It's made me realize how rare actual 4-player is on something other than the Wii U.
Clearly you're going to be leading your office into a love of Risk of Rain, then.
Risk of Rain, like the big thing for me with like an Xbox One would be that it has Castle Crashers. Because Castle Crashers is amazing.
Castle Crashers.
And like, so PS4 has way better indie support than the Xbox One, but the big thing that the Xbox One is bringing to the table is it has, you know, all those Xbox 360 games. So, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm kind of at a stalemate right now between those two. I think for the most part, the Wii U is gone from the equation. I mean, I am not playing my Wii U, so hell, I may bring it up there. And that's an option, so... Well, actually, that's probably not a great idea, given that I'll probably play the new Zelda game on the Wii U.
I mean, that's, the other possibility is you could say, hey, why don't we test these out before we spend a bunch of money on it? Bring it in for, you know, let me know what you feel like, what you want to use this for. We'll test these out in the office and see what people like.
Yeah.
Because then you can bring a Wii U, and if it's like, oh hey, we brought people played it nonstop and it was awesome, even though we didn't expect to, and a bunch of people who didn't think they were going to be into it liked it. Versus we brought the Xbox in and it's got more games, but nobody really wanted to play them because nobody had the time.
Yeah, the big thing with the Xbox is the ability to pause and like have lots of different pauses going at the same time. Whereas the PlayStation just has one, because like you can return to multiple save states.
You can
like
suspend games.
Yeah.
More than one game at a time on the Xbox, rather than suspending the console on PS4.
Got it.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the big surprises when I started playing with my Xbox One. It was like, oh, no, this is just default behavior, is that it's not expecting you to exit out of a game. It's just going to keep suspending them. Now, like, if it's an online game, it's functionally, you're killing the connection. But if it's like a normal game, no, you can pop right back in. And, like, have lots of them going at the same time. But, like, I don't know. I don't know if this is a lunch thing or an after-work thing or...
Yeah.
Because, like, this is something that was brought up, and I'm like, this feels like a slippery slope, but whatever. I was told to do a thing. But it was definitely a weird request, and my bosses started calling me the chief gaming officer, which is equally weird. I guess I have a reputation. So, Kodra, you have been playing Shantae.
I've been playing Shantae the Pirate's Curse because it was part of a Humble Bundle. This is the third game in a series by a company I did not know existed. Like, the game opens up... Well, yeah, the game opens up with Way Forward, celebrating 25 years, 1990 to 2015. I was like, there's a gaming company called Way Forward?
Oh yeah, I know them.
This is the first thing of theirs I've ever played. It's a little 2D action platformer type game. You play a Shantae, well, in this game, boy, this is one of those things where most games do
there was some backstory missing here.
There's some backstory missing here. Most games
I also started with this game and I was like, wait, what?
They do a very good job at easing new players in so that you don't know that you're playing, like, the game in the middle of an ongoing story. And this opens up with, like, boy, do I miss being a genie. It really sucks that I had all of my powers taken away from me at the end of the last game. I'm like, okay, I guess there's some history here. Oh, hey, like, I'm gonna meet all of these characters from the previous game, and we're gonna, like, carry on like we're just picking up the conversation from where we left off. And I'm like, who is this pirate? Okay, you apparently get into beef with this pirate, and then this undead girl. The game's aesthetic is like, so it's the actual, like, sprites are very pixel art sprites, with lots and lots of, like, everything is moving to a beat. Everyone is constantly dancing, effectively. Like, when you are standing still, you are doing a dance. Like, you are doing a belly dance as you are standing still. Kind of thing.
So it's a rhythm game?
No. This is just, like, the aesthetic. Like,
you know how in new Super Mario Brothers games, things literally jump in time to the music?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Alright, sure.
Like,
the idle animation.
Yeah, the idle animation, but not just your idle animation. Everyone's idle animation. Everyone's idle animation is them dancing to the beat of the music in the background. And then like it's also got a lot of like layovers, which are much more style. It's fun. I'm just surprised I haven't heard of this game before, but like smacking things with your hair is fun. The boss fights are okay.
I'm really surprised that you haven't heard of this game either.
So I'd heard of this series, but until recently I hadn't played any of them, and I started with this one as well.
I played a very little bit of one a long ways back, at the wrong time for me to be playing anything, and so it didn't really stick.
And what I will say is all of the designs are pretty fan servicey. Like, all of the character designs.
That might be what made me check out.
Probably. Like, I learned I got a key item because these two girls were on vacation and the hot spring was empty and they were really wanting to like get into the pool, and so I had to figure out how to fill the hot spring with some sort of liquid, and like then they got into their bathing suits, and the glistening of the sun off of their skin revealed the item. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, this game was a darling child of the Gamergate movement, and that was like where I first learned about it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Gross.
I mean, it's not like associated with it officially. It's just one of the games they kept pointing out.
I suddenly have lost a lot of interest in this.
I think that is a little unfair toward the game.
Yeah,
It's a
like
little
It
towards
is
this game.
significantly unfair toward the game.
Fair, but yeah.
Still true though. Like,
Yes.
But it does make me realize how, like, it did make me go into a thought about various ways different games handle idle animations. Because the idle animations are really, really pronounced in this game. And, like, it sort of got me thinking to, like, other games where the idle animation, if like isn't anything at all. It's a lot more muted. It's just one of those little design tools that I hadn't really paid much thought to more.
The game that made me think about idle animations at all first was probably Sonic.
Yeah.
Sonic starting in, I think, Sonic 2.
I was thinking Commander.
As a foot tapping
Yeah.
idle animation to encourage you to keep moving.
Yeah. Keen looks around and bored of you not doing anything. I spent a lot of... I can instantly envision the Sonic tapping his foot, though, because it took all of 0.2 seconds to start. And you were actively moving. I look at you like, are you here? We gonna do this?
Like, you don't have to be idle very long to start the animation.
No.
Enough so that you frequently see it at the start of a dungeon, the start of a level, rather, right before you... He starts it before you even, input your first control.
Yeah, it starts it before the level's fading in. And if you ever had an elevator, you're going to see it a lot.
Yeah, like, I hate to bring up that reference, but, like, it's a thing, because, unfortunately, it looks like a really great game. I've not actually installed it and played it, but I've had it for a very long time, because it's been in a lot of Humble Bundles. Speaking of Humble Bundles, and doing good things with them, the Humble Freedom Bundle is up for, 40 hours or so left?
Not by the time you hear this.
Yeah, by the time you hear it tomorrow, you'll have, like, a day maybe to...
Anyways, yes, the Humble Freedom Bundle is out there. It's $30 minimum. All of your contributions go to charity. I think it's ACLU and what were the other two?
Without Borders.
Doctors Without Borders and one other.
I don't know what the IRC stands for, other than Internet Relay Chat. There you go. Because I assumed it wasn't Internet Relay Chat.
Association because of, yes.
This bundle has so when I was first looking at it, I was like, well, this bundle has 2 of my 3 Game of the Year picks from 2016 in it. So there's that.
Look, it's $30. The Witness still costs $40. It's in this bundle.
It also has Stardew Valley in it.
Like, it's a super, I mean...
My biggest thing is, these are, like, this is a bundle of games that I have already bought. I'm buying it again just because I'm going to give these games away to people when I find people who I'm like, you need to play The Witness.
Yeah, my thing, I haven't gone in for it. I probably mostly because like I don't need 100 billion more Steam in my library, and I already own all of the really good ones in it.
End of Fate was one of Thalen's game picks from 2015.
I may actually play Nuclear Throne now after seeing it at every single PAX South.
Nuclear Throne is a weird game.
I also wanted to pick up Songs of the Deep at one point, but never got around to it, so...
I picked up Song of the Deep when it came out and returned it because its controller support was not very good. I think they fixed that since then.
That's one that I was interested in, but because of the problems that you had, I never touched it.
I feel like I should set up some decent controller support for my PC.
Do you have an Xbox 360 controller?
No.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have a PS4 controller.
I do have a PS4 controller.
Steam can help you there.
I mean, I know, but those are for my PS, but not for my PC. Important.
If you say so.
It's like a weird... I guess I could get another PS4 controller that's specific PC. That might be okay. Especially if it was...
Surely you have, like, used game stores in
Yeah.
your area?
Yes.
Like, you should be able to pick up a Xbox 360 USB controller dirt cheap.
Yeah, no, it's a thing I could just...
Mostly
Not a
those
thing you've
controllers
Not a thing
are
I've done.
just bulletproof. Like, they're really solid controllers.
I mean, I've also been tempted to just pick up an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One Elite controller because that's a really nice controller and just use that on my PC.
There's also an option.
It's a thing that exists, yes.
Like, a lot of the extra buttons don't work on the PC, though, from what I've heard. They only work if you've configured them in the Xbox One app.
Yeah, they will work for some Windows Store games, but not for Steam games.
Yeah, there's some weirdness that goes on there. Okay, so I know another thing that happened recently is that you all wrapped up your vampire campaign.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one. I guess people playing it probably have more to comment. It was so I don't like but I can run a superhero game if I do it on my own term.
Yeah, at the end we were doing a really ending thing, but we sort of lost the superhero thread of it. The hero thread, in a way. Like, at the end it felt more like, I guess we were solving a big cataclysmic thing, but mostly
there was a problem, and we mostly solved it.
Yeah. Mostly it was, I mean, it's still vampire. It still became a lot about politics and playing various people against each other.
Well, it was still a vampire game, too.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
So, I guess it's worth noting the big part of why I don't care that much about why I'm not that interested in superheroes, especially in terms of superhero games, because, like, what is that, a monster? It's sort of like a Monster of the Week game? I don't know. It's one of those places where I just don't see I don't see a lot of very interesting things, very many interesting places to go with.
Yeah, it's definitely more like, it's a bit of Monster of the Week. There's always, I mean, you're structuring things more episodically with, like, A and B plots. You're building a game for a more traditional superhero thing.
Yeah, and I think I would have to actually like superheroes to be able to run that kind of game.
But I mean, it's also more sort of like the very traditional D&D game, where it's like, oftentimes you have a monster that you are, like, a baddie that you are fighting, and, like, all of the baddies you are fighting are secretly leading up, are in service of a main through-line plot. And they're sort of their own side thing for the various sessions, which is sort of how traditional superhero stories work.
I think of examples of superhero stories I actually like. Infamous definitely comes to mind, even though it isn't like, costumes and saving the day. It's still...
I mean, I feel like
who
there's...
is significantly... who stands out among the crowd still.
Yeah. So what I was really going for, and what was very well did happen in this game, was like, I didn't want to play a mercenary. I wanted to play a character who was more like trying to do good for, like, not the purposes of gaining power, or not like own ambitions, but actually had like a person, like had other people that he was trying to protect. Like, actually being heroic rather than being self-serving in one of these games. Because I feel like my frustration with Dungeons and Dragons, often it becomes sort of like well, now you're just one of the many mercenary squads that goes around and does adventure for money and experience.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch that I learned from running this one, because it's different from a lot of the usual styles, as far as building characters and trying to find out interesting things to do with characters that are like the characters that you as the heroes are protecting. And I kind of wound up going in some different directions because I needed more usable characters than some of the ones that I started with. But
yeah, I wasn't really sure what was gonna like. There was the entire family that's sort of I mean, they never really got terribly involved, even though there was I know one of them became a ghoul. That family was like tied to all of our characters, I thought, wasn't it?
No,
just
one, just you.
Really? I thought.
Yeah, that was sort of the problem that I ran into, was that I had a fairly significant. I had a much bigger cast of characters, that like a much bigger cast of immediate tied to players' characters, far more than I could do anything with, and it was really difficult for me to come up with reasons for more than one person out of the party to care about a particular NPC. And so I kind of wound up going with who did the party attach to, which was ultimately worked out in some various ways, but also meant that some of the early setup stuff I don't think I used as well as I could have.
So what's the next campaign?
Still planning it. Per usual, I'm open to suggestions. One of the things that I've been looking at is 7th Sea, which is this interesting kind of swashbuckly, like cinematic theatric heroics kind of game, where it's like it's got this weird mix of interesting kind of dark stuff going on, but also it's got some rules that kind of make for more zany adventures. One of the ones that comes to mind is like player characters can't be killed except by named villains, like named major villains. So you can't like, whoops, we got into a fight with the city guard and they killed us all. Game over. There's none of that. And so it both heightens the sense of characters, and also makes it possible for you to engage in some incredibly bad but fun ideas.
Yeah, it's that aspect of it that made it sound really interesting to me. Like, I think that concept and the setting too, are pretty appealing to me. Like, it just seems like you can have a lot more fun trying things and like experimenting without worrying that, oh, if I'm not doing my best, or if I screw up, or if I try something crazy and dumb, then everybody might get killed.
Yeah. Like, I've seen games like Burning Wheel does the thing where failure is more valuable in terms of XP than success in some cases, but like it still punishes you for failing. Whereas I feel like it's less punishing. Failure is less here. It's more, well, now you got to deal with that.
Burning Wheel doesn't quite. It's Burning Wheel judges the roll's contribution to your XP based on how difficult it is for you, not so much whether you succeed or not.
Yeah.
So then they try to push you to do things that are difficult, but that system also punishes you really hard for not making it. So that's a little bit of a mixed bag there.
But yeah, it's a game that's on the list. There's another game that I picked up the rulebook from a Kickstarter that I'm still flipping through, but it seems pretty neat. It's a tabletop game inspired by one of my favorite book series.
What game?
Blades in the Dark. It's a game about playing a group of shadowy organized thieves in a fantasy city. But it may be the kind of game that only I am interested in.
It just means you have to sell it really well.
Yeah, so I might spend some time seeing if it is the kind of thing that would be really, really fun or not so much. But yeah, I'll need to take some time and write the next one, figure out where I want to go with it, and if there's anything that anybody particularly wants to play. Because I was overall, like, there were some rocky points, but I was overall pretty happy with the vampire, and hopefully everybody else enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That was entirely born of a conversation coder, and I was like, I think I could sort of blend this thing that you're asking for with this new thing that I've never tried. Maybe I could do something interesting with this. I think whatever we play next, at least one of our players is going to want more fighting.
I was about to say, there was not a lot of fighting. I kind of want more fighting in whatever we play next.
Okay. That's a thing I can do. This is why I solicit feedback. I used to have a thing where I would grant bonus XP. Like, one of the coolest things that I saw from another DM, and one that I adopted at one point, was his thing was, if you give me feedback between sessions, you get bonus XP. Like, whether that feedback is things your character is doing in between sessions, or things you liked and didn't like about what's going on, and so on and so forth, because that kind of thing is really, really, really super ultra helpful for me as a DM, kind of shaping where and how the story plays out. But also having people at unequal XP is sort of a pain to deal with, especially when we have kind of a rotating set of players. And I prefer the rotating set of players to having people feel like, oh, well, I haven't made it in a few months. I may as well not come.
Yup.
Well, I think that was a show.
Sounds good.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed it, and join us next week where we talk about more stuff and things. And hopefully,
will be probably not here.
Yeah.
Enjoy your new house.
Thank you.
And anyway, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.
Good night.